And his open play XG is top in the Premier League as well for midfield players. XG per shot, he's expected to score with 20% of the shots that he has on average, and is making those runs into final third.
When Enzo Fernández arrived at Chelsea FC, he wasn't just another high-profile signing, he was meant to symbolise the beginning of a new era. Fresh off a World Cup triumph with Argentina national team, Enzo brought with him intelligence, composure, and a style of play that suggested he could become the heartbeat of Chelsea's midfield for years to come. But fast forward to now, following a damaging 8-2 defeat to Paris Saint-Germain, and the conversation around Enzo feels very different. Questions are no longer about how high his ceiling is, they are about whether Chelsea have ever truly understood the player they invested so heavily in. At the core of this debate lies a simple but important truth: Enzo Fernández is not a player who thrives in chaos. He is a rhythm player. His game is built on control, subtlety, and connection, the kind of qualities that don't always stand out in highlight reels but are essential to how a team functions. When placed in a structured, cohesive system, Enzo has the ability to dictate tempo, link phases of play, and quietly dominate matches. We saw glimpses of this during his early days at Chelsea and more consistently with Argentina, where his role is clearly defined. In that environment, he operates within a tight collective, players move in sync, distances between lines are compact, and his decision-making becomes sharper because the structure supports him. He doesn't need to force the game, he simply guides it. At Chelsea, however, the picture has often looked very different. Over the past few seasons, the club has struggled to establish a consistent identity. Frequent managerial changes, tactical shifts, and an imbalanced squad have created an environment where players are often asked to adapt rather than excel. For someone like Enzo, this instability can be particularly damaging. Without a clear structure, his strengths, positioning, timing, and distribution become less visible, while his weaknesses, mobility in defensive transitions and physical duels, are exposed. This has led to a recurring pattern: Enzo looks like a completely different player depending on the system around him. In games where Chelsea control possession and maintain compactness, he appears calm and authoritative. In matches where the team is stretched or disjointed, he can seem slow, ineffective, or even peripheral. The problem is that much of the criticism aimed at him ignores this context. Too often, the evaluation of midfielders is reduced to goals, assists, or visible defensive actions. But Enzo's game operates in the spaces between those metrics. He influences matches through positioning, angles, and decision-making, elements that are easy to overlook but crucial to elite-level football. When those elements are disrupted by a lack of structure, his impact naturally declines. There is also a broader question about how Chelsea have approached his development. Rather than building a system that maximizes his strengths, it often feels like the club has tried to compensate for his weaknesses. This can lead to a situation where the player is neither fully protected nor fully empowered, stuck in a tactical compromise that limits his overall influence. In contrast, the best teams tend to do the opposite. They identify what makes a player special and build around it. For Enzo, that would mean creating a midfield dynamic where he can operate as a central reference point, the player who connects everything, rather than one who is constantly reacting to instability. The recent defeat to PSG has only intensified this conversation. Against a side that thrives on structure and cohesion, Chelsea's shortcomings were brutally exposed. And in that context, Enzo's struggles became part of a larger narrative about the team's identity, or lack thereof. What makes this moment particularly significant is the growing uncertainty around his future. Reports suggesting that Enzo himself is unsure about staying at Chelsea raise an uncomfortable possibility that both player and club may be questioning whether this partnership can truly work. If that's the case, it forces a deeper reflection. Have Chelsea misunderstood Enzo Fernández? Or is this simply a case of a talented player failing to meet expectations? The answer likely lies somewhere in between. Enzo is not without flaws, and at this level, every player is expected to adapt and deliver consistently. But it's equally clear that his profile requires a certain level of tactical clarity to shine, something Chelsea have struggled to provide. Ultimately, this isn't just about one player. It's about how clubs build teams, how they define roles, and how they create environments where talent can thrive. Enzo Fernández represents a particular type of footballer, one who elevates a system rather than carrying it alone. The question is whether Chelsea are ready to become the kind of team that allows him to do exactly that. Because if they are not, the risk isn't just that Enzo will leave, it's that they may never truly see the player they thought they had signed in the first place.